Well, an 84-year-old man spent 18 hours in his car while waiting for a ward in Sydney's Blacktown Hospital. Ronald Jackson, who needed treatment for kidney stones, waited in the disabled parking area outside emergency for most of Sunday after the hospital admitted him. But there were no beds available. His family says other patients had been waiting for as much as 40 hours. Joining us is Janita and Mark Pointer now, Ronald's daughter and son-in-law. Good morning to you both. Thank you so much for your company. So we'll start with Ronald, and can you just elaborate on the story of what happened when he came to the hospital and what was said to him?
Well, we got there at 6 a.m. on Sunday morning. He was told by the surgical team to be there at 6 o'clock because he was actually in Blacktown Hospital about 5 weeks ago, where he was there under emergency, then taken up to a ward to have surgery, and then two people in his ward had COVID. So he contracted it. They put him in his own room and then sent him home without any care. Nothing. No one checked on him at all from the hospital. They rescheduled his surgery, and we got told to arrive for 2 days of IV, and then he'd have his surgery this morning. We arrive, all he was told was 6 a.m, you can have a bed waiting for you, you'll go straight up and have your IV. We get in there at 6 a.m, we're told by triage the hospital is full, there is not a single bed available, and you need to wait in the emergency waiting room. They knew nothing of him coming in. We had to tell them to look into his file to actually find the letters from the surgery team. Which they finally did, and then they didn't have the medication to give him on the IV. So then we told them that last time they had to get it from Parramatta Penrith. They finally called the pharmacy and found it. So what was meant to have an IV at 6 a.m, he had at 10 a.m. So then his next one's not going to be till 6 p.m, and then he had to have another one at 2 a.m.
So is this in the car?
And so no, he had to walk from the car up into emergency to have the IV.
Right.
And to use the
bathroom.
Okay.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, okay, so most of the time was spent in the car except for when he had to use the bathroom or get his IV.
Yeah, terrible.
Okay. And just to confirm, sorry, Janita, I'll ask you now. I mean, was it kidney stones? Am I right there?
Yes, yeah. And so for 5 weeks, he's been at home, and unfortunately, losing blood and been in a lot of pain. And everyone knows the pain that comes with kidney stones.
No, sure, no. I get it. I didn't want to ask you how much pain was he in? Was he describing it to you? Or, I mean, maybe you didn't even need to tell. You could probably see it on his face.
Yeah, no, it's not been good. And he lives by himself too. So, the first time round sending him home with COVID without any care, that was absolutely terrible of them.
Mm. How is he now?
He's exhausted, absolutely exhausted. Yeah.
He's meant to be actually having surgery within about the next half hour, hopefully.
Right, okay. So he's still waiting.
Because, we had the GM of the hospital at his bedside last night, making sure he was okay and assuring us that his surgery would go ahead this morning. So, fingers crossed that's still continuing.
Okay. And what do you make of the hospital's treatment and response?
Well, some of the staff do go above and beyond, but one hand doesn't know what the other one's doing. Like, even to the point where one person that gave him his IV at the start of the day hadn't put down on his notes where to get the IV for the medication later in the day. So they had to go start the rat race all over again to go and find it again. Like, no one knows what each other's doing. There's people on IVs in the waiting room because the entire waiting room they're all been admitted. So that's why there's no wait times online, because they've all been admitted and they're sitting in the waiting room.
And how do you feel about the treatment of your dad, Janita?
Oh, disgusted, absolutely disgusted. At 6 o'clock when he went up to the emergency to get his next IV, they actually handed me the drugs. And I actually took the drugs in my own bag with me because they said that they'll just get lost or they'll get used by someone else, even though they'd be put aside for him. So, and that's just, I've never heard of a hospital giving the patient's family the drugs that he needs for the next couple of treatments because they weren't sure if he was going to get them. But I've been I like to say abused, but especially told off by some of the lead nurses, supervisors. We've made complaints in the last time and nothing got done about it at all.
Okay.
This time round, they were like, well, we just want to work with you. We just want to be committed after they found you guys had heard about it.
Okay.
And it shouldn't take that. It shouldn't take that.
No,
I
it
said,
shouldn't.
We've been trying to work with you since the start of September.
Yeah, no, it should
So, and
definitely
we've
not
got
happen.
nowhere.
And we're happy.
No,
we're happy
absolutely.
to be able to help out. But Mark and
Yeah.
Janita,
Thank you.
hopefully
Thank
he can get his surgery today and get fixed up quick, smart, and is no longer in pain, and hopefully get some rest too. Mark and Janita, thank you so much for sharing the story. Appreciate your time. We reached out to Blacktown Hospital on the matter, and we did receive this statement. We extend our sincere apologies to Mr. Jackson and his family for the distress caused as a result of his experience of care. Feedback from our patients is taken very seriously, and we contacted Mr. Jackson and his family after receiving their complaint, offering our sincere apologies and ongoing support in his care. And from the New South Wales Health Minister, it distresses me to think of anyone being made to wait so long for a bed. We know that our emergency departments are facing more pressure than ever before. This is a combination of a lack of investment after 12 years in our health workforce, as well as structural challenges such as workforce shortages. We are working hard to address these structural challenges as quickly as possible, including ramping up our staff numbers in our emergency departments to levels that are safe and sufficient.